Before I begin, I just want to say none of this means anything until we see gameplay. This is just text from interviews and cinematic visuals. We can get some useful information out of this, but just remember there's always a chance anything you imagine might be better than the real thing. Okay, here we go. First, I'm gonna talk about my general feelings on this trailer, but if you'd rather skip this section where I geek out about something I found cool, go to the timestamp on screen. I initially had my live reaction up, but I decided against putting that on YouTube for now, because that first reaction can feed into hype culture, and I don't want to set that kind of precedent at the moment, considering the last few games we got. It behooves us to be cautious, although this all seems like a very good sign so far. Once some time passes, I might upload it again if you ask me to. Mainly, I want to talk about why this trailer is so good, not just as a trailer but as a piece of fiction, as a watchable story. Achieving this is something Assassin's Creed trailers are usually decent at, with some going further, and telling a strong narrative of their own. This, to me, is one of them. Young Basim ibn Ishaq has an arc here with a beginning, middle, and end. He fails at certain actions at the start, trains to improve and become someone new, and succeeds at those very same actions later, like the wall run and the fight against a challenging opponent. Beyond communicating that we'll have in-game mechanics growth tied to story progression, it's immediately a compelling thing to watch someone grow and become greater, especially when he's our player character and back to the archetype we've been hungering for over the past years. All this aside, this little story is a love letter to people who adore the beginnings of the series. It leans heavily into the particular kind of cultish mysticism that AC1 had, into the aesthetics and atmosphere unique to Assassin's Creed as a universe that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you haven't seen this trailer, let yourself watch it and enjoy it, because if you're anything like me, it's been a while since you've seen something that says, "Hey, I see you," the way that this does. Once you're done with that, come back here and we're gonna talk about what we know. Ubisoft have a new approach to making Assassin's Creed games, which was revealed in an interview with IGN. I'm paraphrasing, but the message the Vice President of Editorial gave IGN is, since AC now reaches out to several different player bases that often have completely opposite needs, they've stopped trying to make a single game appeal to everyone broadly because that's basically impossible. Instead, they'll be releasing more games, but with different ones specifically targeting a particular group of players and being more tightly focused on them. Quote, "We want to be okay with making a decision around the one game and go, we're going to go for that and we're going to commit, and we're going to be okay that it can make those kind of people happy, but maybe not everybody. And that's okay. We believe that a more focused game is better for the people that like that kind of game. As an example, Red is meant for the RPG crowd, Mirage is meant for the classic crowd, and Hexa is something new, another true evolution of Assassin's Creed with its own ideas that we don't know about yet. This is the best possible approach for this series, and it's something I've been begging them to do for years, even before Origins. Trying to please every type of player inside a game like the last three we got, we can see that it doesn't work. The players who like those games would love them even more if they weren't also trying to appeal to us behind those players' backs. And we would love the games we got more if they were sincerely focused on the things we enjoy about this universe instead of just giving us mere scraps and asking us to be happy about it. So this is a great decision for the future of the series. This video though is only about one game made under this approach, Mirage, and let's get into the game at hand. Mirage is set in Baghdad and is the origin story of Basim, the hidden one from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. He starts the game as a young street thief and is picked up by a 50-year-old woman named Roshan, who is a hidden one that begins training him to be a capable killer himself. The official trailer description says Basim has intense nightmares, even before he meets the hidden ones. Skip to the timestamp on screen right now to avoid late game Valhalla spoilers, because we gotta talk about this. It's mentioned by Sarah Beaulieu, narrative director, that the djinn we see at the very end of the trailer appears to Basim in every memory corridor, and part of his journey will involve contending with this being who whispers to him from within. This makes it very obvious the djinn is actually Basim's perception of Loki, who is already creeping into his mind, slowly influencing him. This is likely happening because of a mechanism specific to Aesir sages in the Assassin's Creed universe. We know the Aesir sages benefit from quicker acclimation to a host body they genetically surface into whenever that body experiences situations and stresses similar to their own original lives. Folke tortures Sigurd's arm to bring his synchronization closer to Tyr, who lost his own arm in agony. Eivor's resonance with Odin increases as she's put in positions of authority and leadership and then questioned, which mirrors Odin's rank as an authority figure whose leadership was also tested as Ragnarok approached. And Basim, well, Loki's life was characterized by hiding away, staying in the dark and out of sight of the king in his life, who was often at odds with him and would harm his family if Loki didn't stay undetected. It fits that Basim is already experiencing Loki's merging with him because he begins this stage of his life as a thief. He's already living in the shadows, away from authority figures, running in terror from the city guard who hunt him just for staying alive in the only ways he can. It makes perfect sense that Loki would start on him way sooner. Alright, Valhalla spoilers over. Speaking of being hunted and running away, the GameSpot article by Jordan Rameh has Mirage's art director Jean-Luc Sala explaining that Basim is not a warrior who can safely tank hits and openly engage multiple enemies. Basim is definitely not Eivor. If you play this thinking it's like Valhalla, you are going to die really fast. This speaks to the overall design of Mirage. Mirage is not an RPG. Mirage is not a 100-hour experience, it's something shorter, the main story length landing somewhere nebulously between AC1, Revelations, Rogue, and Unity, like somewhere between all those. Mirage is not even a full-price game. All of this suggests tighter focus and a condensed experience, based on stealth and movement, which have both been reworked to some extent. While there was some information that Mirage started as a Valhalla DLC, this is not entirely true. The idea for Mirage started out as a Valhalla DLC on paper, but it sounds like they never worked on it or made anything until it was firmly decided to be its own game. Because of this, they might not be limited to using Valhalla's assets and code, since they've been comfortably working in their own technical space away from that game pretty much from the beginning. As far as the maps, it sounds like there's just 2 and that's it, neither of which are super huge. There's Baghdad, which is the main city we'll be playing. It's said to be about the size and density of Unity's Paris, so that's a manageable world size for a modern Assassin's Creed game. And then there's Alamut, the birthplace of the Assassin Brotherhood, in the sense that it's the cradle in which they change from Hidden Ones into Assassins. As we play the game, Alamut is where we'll be trained by our mentor, Roshan, and we'll see it be under construction as it still won't be built for about another 100 years. I'm guessing this acts like a home base or headquarters where we can talk to other Hidden Ones and upgrade our weapons and tools, but, we don't know yet. The influences of this game that they openly admitted are as follows. It takes overall inspiration from AC1 to Revelations. Its parkour and tools or gadgets are heavily based on AC Unity, and the combat is an altered variant of Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla that fits Basim's character more. We'll see how it plays, but it sounds like it could work. Combat was the one thing the Layla Saga did better than any other system in those games, and there's still untapped potential in it to feel faster and even more lethal, especially if taking a hit yourself is devastating to your health bar. We might see the glass cannon we've been wanting to play for a while, who knows. Movement was a focus, and Baghdad is a good setting for it. Atmospherically, it calls back to vibes of AC1 or Revelations, with buildings, markets, and streets close together, and 4 major districts each associated with their own focus, like industry, science, and so on. You can also go some distance outside the city walls and the outskirts. Unity was the main inspiration for both parkour and crowd density. Basim has unique movement animations and special care was taken to make him feel like one of the fastest AC protagonists in the series. He has tools that help him move faster. The extent of these, we don't know. But we've heard of something called the pole vault that helps him cross gaps without having to go back to street level, which could be cool. We see Basim failing at parkour in the cinematic trailer, and then succeeding later, which maybe points to it having more skill expression, but that seems like a bit of a shot in the dark. I mean, they can put anything they want in these trailers, and it doesn't always have a direct representation in-game, but it's still worth keeping an eye on until we know more. Fighting is often a bad idea, like we mentioned, but not always. As we can see, he's portrayed taking down groups of 2 or 3, but I'm guessing that more than that will be dangerous and push us into running, which makes sense in a game emphasizing movement again. Being forced to run from guards or chase down fleeing targets is a good way to stress the parkour system and make players engage with it. And these 2 types of movement represent defensive and aggressive utility as well. This will be especially true in a movement system that you can be better or worse at. Assassin Focus is an ability Basim will learn once he becomes a Hidden One, and it's the equivalent of a Mark and Execute from Splinter Cell, or, more accurately, Fear Takedowns from Batman Arkham Knight. That might be exactly what this moment is showing. It's something you have to recharge through gameplay, and you can't spam it. It also starts out weak, being able to only kill 2 guards at a time. It sounds like double assassination, and then, when upgraded, triple and quadruple assassination. It sounds like those are considered such powerful techniques in this game that they're a resource you have to spend wisely at the right times. For doubles, this doesn't bother stealth players that much because we can just 1-2 in any game that has both melee and range takedown options. For people who don't know what a 1-2 is, or you're not familiar with stealth content creator terms, it's basically when you get a double kill very quickly by taking out a distant target with a projectile and then immediately triggering your melee stealth kill animation on the guy that's directly in front of you. If you watch a bunch of stealth videos on YouTube, you're going to see almost every stealth player uses 1-2s in their kill videos. So having double assassinations locked behind get normal stealth kills to refill doesn't bother me too much. Basim does have skill trees. We know they're Trickster, Predator, and Phantom. These are also associated with some beautiful sigils in Arabic calligraphy, created by the same artist who made the insignia for Mirage's logo, and there are 4 of them. So maybe there's another skill tree we don't know about yet, or the last one entails something different. Anyway, these skill trees are notable for not having any association with brute strength at all. A trickster, a predator, a phantom, none of these things give the vibe of a renowned warrior or fighter. They drip of the poison of cunning, the fog of secrecy and deception. For that matter, none of these animals are symbols of open combat either, they're all stealthy killers. My good friends have a thread they made talking about the calligraphy in these sigils, and have even translated them with the help of the community. I'll link everything in the description. I'll leave you guys to speculate what these might mean or which skill tree they might be associated with, but to me it sounds like they're movement, stealth, assassination, and maybe traps. We'll find out later. In the developer trailer breakdown, we hear that our tools will be something we can tweak and alter. This is interesting, but I'm worried about the way it's done. I want to tweak my tools and gadgets, but I also want to be able to revert them back to their base behavior if I hate the way they changed. Valhalla is horrible at this. So many abilities in that game change their behavior if you upgrade them, and you can never go back. So now, you're stuck with a smoke bomb that sets people on fire instead of helping you stay stealthy. Just a thing they need to be careful with, I think. Some of the tools we'll have include smoke bombs, throwing knives, blowpipe, traps or mines, and our Eagle and Kidu, who can mark enemies like in Origins and Odyssey. The Eagle cannot be used to scout everywhere. There are special archers that are specifically trained to shoot at him, so if those types of guards exist in a space, you will not be able to use your Eagle to go anywhere near them, and you'll have to scout that area on foot until you kill those special units. They say Basim also begins the game with a thief sense that lets him pulse an area around him. Maybe this helps him see interactive objects and guards. Poor guy probably has no clue it's actually eagle vision. So in heavily guarded areas, one of the ways Mirage pushes back against us is by damaging our overpowered scouting mechanic until we prove we're good enough to get it back. That's pretty cool and introduces target priority into, difficult stealth encounters. Speaking of heavily guarded areas, one of Basim's responsibilities during the main story is to reopen bureaus across Baghdad. These bureaus will often be guarded by high-ranking members of the Order of the Ancients, and many will be main assassinations. The way these interviews and articles make it sound is that to open a bureau, we'll have to do AC-1 style investigations to get intel on the target first, and then once we enter the assassination space, it follows the black box rules from Unity and Syndicate. There's a single focal point of the entire area, and that's your main target. You have to kill him by any means necessary, and the game will then step back and let you go in and figure out how you want to kill this guy on your own in a method of your choosing. Disappointingly, it will not be possible to replay missions or assassinations from any kind of menu, but we can still create manual saves before the black box and replay from those, which is fine, I guess. We'll make it work. When we're playing these main assassinations, one thing we want to be careful about is whether we're wanted, which is a new social stealth layer. I'll come back to this, but detection has changed as well. Normally, guards in Mirage have 3 states of detection. They'll first give us a warning, then they'll investigate us, and only then will they fight us. The developers say they're putting in the work to make these state changes feel properly telegraphed and clearly shown to the player, so you don't feel like you just get randomly detected for no reason out of nowhere, hopefully. If you've watched Kino's Ezio Trilogy Social Stealth Guide, link in the description, you might recognize one of these states as policing, which allows us to do some really cool AI manipulation and stay undetected in the older games. Crowd blending also appears to be back, but that's where what I said earlier, being wanted, comes into play. If you're wanted, civilians may recognize you and blow your cover. Depending on how this is done, it could add a cool new layer of engagement with the social stealth system, which the series has needed for 10 years because social stealth hasn't meaningfully improved since Revelations. One final comment I have is that apparently Mirage was mislabeled as having an adults only rating due to having quote real gambling in it. This was a mistake, it's not true. Ubisoft have confirmed the game has no gambling and no loot boxes in it. I've put all the relevant links I could find in the description, but that's all I have right now. I had to re-record this video 3 times because more information kept being released every day, so hopefully that stops. If I missed something, or you want me to talk about something else, or new info comes out, let me know and I'll try to get to it. I'm behind on a lot of videos, and now that the announcements are over, I'm feeling the urge to smash back into working on them. Thanks for hanging out, may fog shroud you, and may the night bring you safety and peace, sisters and brothers.